So I took the donkey back to the house, and that's when he told me like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? We're back. Today's segment,
personal trainers and personal training. It's obvious that if you're new to fitness or you're just starting out and you don't know what you're doing, the value of personal trainer is obvious. But what about for everybody else? Does having a trainer actually give you better results? So up until not too long ago, that answer would have been completely subjective. You know, you would have had people who have worked with trainers or actual trainers tell you like, yeah, obviously this is the value for anyone.
Yeah.
But now we actually have research to back up those findings.
I know you love research.
So there was a study that took a group of 36 people. They were already trained, so they weren't newbies. They were trained, they had already lifted weights before, but they took them and they put them on a program for 8 weeks, right? They split them in half. One half was working with supervision, what they called supervision, which is basically having a trainer. The other half was unsupervised, same program though. And then saw the results after the 8 weeks, and what happened was the people that were supervised or that had the trainers ended up having more, they built more muscle, they got stronger, and they had better adherence to the training. So that's pretty objective results there, telling you that having supervision or having a trainer is superior to just doing it on your own. So let's interpret those results. Why do you think, in your personal opinion, that having a trainer would give you better results?
I think that exercise is one of those things that everybody feels like, oh, it's obvious. I go to the gym, I do X, Y, Z. Even if you have a program, if somebody gives you a program, it's a little more complicated than that. And I think things like rest intervals are underlooked. I think progressive overload is underlooked. And I feel like if you have somebody watching you that knows what they're doing, has been doing it for a while, they can kind of guide you in that direction. They could tell you, hey, 12 reps with that weight looked easy, or you're resting too long. Those little things, like those little details, I feel like a regular population, even if you have trained before, it's just so much easier to let it fall through the cracks. Like,
yeah, you're overlooking certain little details that add up in the long run and compound.
Absolutely. We know how important it is to write down the weights you do. That way you make sure you're going up. We know how important rest intervals can be. We know that general population either rests too long or too little, and they make it more like a HIIT class when you're really trying to do strength training. So I think all those little factors add up into a better program and a more complete workout. If you have somebody that knows what they're doing, watching you, timing your rest intervals, making sure you're going up in weight, all those little factors I think end up playing a big role.
The other thing is that it's very rare that you find an individual who can really push themselves to their max. Like, it's a very rare quality. Even if you think you can, how many people actually go in on their own and really push it to their max? Whereas if you have somebody there to push you, they're more likely going to get to that limit, to the actual limit, especially if it's somebody with enough experience to know, okay, I know where this person is at, I know just how hard I can push them.
Absolutely, because they're not sounding them too, but there's a difference between the meathead mentality of, you could do more weight, you could always do more weight. You can't always do more weight. You gotta know that the form is proper, that this person's not dying out there. We've seen a lot of people that are like, oh, push, you could keep pushing. We know as trainers, like, okay, let's,
yeah,
that's a good way.
There's an art and a science to knowing how hard to push, but with that in mind, I would say that the vast majority of people aren't training hard enough. And
Absolutely.
The evidence for that is obvious. Are you seeing results constantly? If the answer is no, then yes, sure, there could be a lot of other things going on, variables, but this is an important variable, where are you actually training hard enough? Are you going to either near failure or to failure on almost every set? And are you progressively overloading, like you said, through the weeks to make sure that you are increasing as you should? I would say that without that supervision, a lot of people are just kind of winging it. They're kind of just doing, okay, I guess I'm gonna go up a little bit. They don't really remember what they did the week before. So it's just having somebody there. And we've worked out together, and we've had like accountability partners and like just training buddies. And how much harder do you work when you have like a good, like motivating training buddy?
So much harder. And I feel like people are stuck on the rep ranges. So let's say you give them a workout, they'll say, I have to do 12, they'll get 20s, do 12, and that's it. They won't. As trainers, we always say, like, with each other, like, I don't even count reps. I just train until I can't. Like, I train till failure.
But, or you'll land on like a weird rep, like 13,
like 11.
11, yeah. Which tells you really went to failure.
Exactly, and that happens a lot. And I don't want to signal anybody out, but we've been training for a long time. Women specifically don't know to train till failure. Men are typically more meatheady. They'll push themselves, sometimes even too far. Women tend to be a little more conservative. They'll grab 5s, and they can really do 12s, 15s.
They tend to be a little bit more scared of the hevier weights.
Scared of heavier weight and don't like to rest, so they'll do everything a little faster. That's something that just for some reason is ingrained in that population.
True. I mean, we speak from experience, you know what I mean? No, but seriously, we speak from experience when we say that a lot of guys, you have to hold them back a little bit because they're trying to go too much, and you don't want to go to failure every single time. That's also not good.
Especially if you have 3 sets to go. Like,
yeah, you have to kind of like, whoa, hold your horses there, buddy. But then with women, it tends to be, and not all women, of course, we're not, you know, we don't want to generalize, but it's like, oh wow, how much is that? 150? Ooh, that, like, without even touching the bar, it's like, that feels heavy, that sounds heavy. I don't think I can lift that. But then sure enough, they can lift it, and then you almost have to prove it to them. Like, you see, like, I know you can lift it, otherwise I wouldn't put it on there.
Half the time I don't even tell them. They're like, how much weight is that? If I see intimidation, I'm like, don't even worry about it. Just do it. You can do it. You can do it. Like, we know what you're capable of.
And that's another important reason or benefit to have a trainer. It's having somebody, of course, having a good trainer. Let's have that caveat there. Is that having somebody that knows exactly how hard to push you and knows how to progress you or regress you, depending on where you're at or what you've achieved. That's not something that's something that comes with experience. It's not something that like even a rookie trainer could be qualified to do.
Or you can't learn it in books.
No, exactly. You have to actually work with people. Yeah. Let's talk about another part of the research that was, to me, is obvious, and I'm sure to our listeners is also going to be obvious, which is having supervision or a trainer leads to better adherence, right? So people stuck to the program. That's obvious. Yeah. Why do you think that happened?
I think people don't like to look bad or to disappoint other people. Like if you have an appointment, it's, at least for me, I hate canceling on people. I don't like rescheduling things. So like if I have somebody there waiting for me and somebody I know is keeping me accountable, I don't want it to be like, hey, you slipped on this. I don't like being called out on things. So I'm gonna show up.
Just even to not let the person down.
To not let the person down, to not let them like chastise me. You know, when you go to the mechanic and they make fun of you because your oil's too old.
Every time.
Every time. I'm like, dude, just change my oil. But yeah, I don't want to be like reprimanded. I don't think anybody likes that. And if you do, you're going down a slippery slope.
Yeah, like.
And I'm not here to kink shame, but.
I went to the dentist the other day and they told me I floss religiously, more than anybody I know, once a day.
I always floss them.
And they're telling me, oh, you should be flossing after every meal. I'm like,
I'm always eating.
Come on. I'm like, I'm already like the perfect patient. You're going to tell me I need to floss more? That's just overkill, dentist. Come on, don't do that.
Come on, dentist.
Just work with what you got. Anyway. Look, it's very simple. You just put yourself in a scenario. You get home from work, you're tired, you lay on the couch and you're like, should I go work out? If you have to have that battle with you, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose a lot of times. But if you say, I have an appointment with my trainer at 6:30, you're gonna go. Yeah. You're just gonna go. Or the likelihood of you going is higher.
You're gonna. Let's say you cancel one day, you're really not up to it. Are you really gonna cancel the next time? Like, that is a really bad look. That's why I have one of those beds that you press the button and it shoots you out. That's just me though.
Yeah. No, and you land on your feet every time, right?
Of course, I'm a cat.
Of course, it's athleticism. It's in the Irana blood.
Sheer athleticism.
And these same benefits when it comes to like adherence or accountability could be accomplished, not obviously a trainer is better, but with a buddy, like an accountability buddy, but that's a slippery slope because you got to pick a good buddy. Because if your buddy starts, slacking, then it's like, all right, well, I lost my accountability there. We were supposed to hold each other accountable, and that happens all the time where it's like people make a pact, we're gonna do this, yeah. And then 3 weeks later, oh, I can't, I'm not feeling good. And then there you go, you lost your buddy, and that could like demotivate you. So that's why hiring a trainer, it's like you have no choice. You're paying that person to hold you accountable.
And people don't like to waste money. Oh, most people don't like to spend money and just give it to the person and not do anything. Like,
yeah, it's just extra accountability. Not only did I set an appointment with you, but I'm paying you. I want to get my money's worth, so I better show up.
You should want to.
Okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a sec. Let's say I'm a 35-year-old man listening to this. I've been working out for basically my whole adult life. I go to a gym by myself, membership gym, and it's like, I kind of know what I'm doing. I don't feel like I need a trainer. Like, why would you tell me that I need one?
Okay, those guys are usually the hardest to get through to, and I think the most important reason for those guys to have a trainer is because just because you think you know what you're doing doesn't necessarily mean you know exactly what you're doing. And those guys come to us and they're full of injuries, full of imbalances. They have upper cross syndrome. They like to train upper body but not legs 99% of the time. And we got to get them on a program that covers all facets of fitness. It's not just working out your glamour muscles, which is, let's be honest, what most of us guys like to do when we go to the gym. Buys, chest and buys, chest and tries. But I'm going to force you to do legs. Like, I'm going to make you do things that you're not comfortable with, things that you don't like to do, which is, it's hard to get out of your comfort zone. I know if I go to the gym by myself and I'm not feeling up to it, I'm going to do things I like. And that's most of people that quote unquote know what they're doing. When you should be working your imbalances. I want to see your shoulder mobility, which 98% of those guys that have been working out since they were young, it's dog shit, pardon my French. They can't scratch their own back. So like, we want to make sure that you're not just a guy that looks okay, but is in constant pain and is in shambles.
Yeah, and it's a good criticism right away to say, well, you've been working out how many years, and how has your training evolved in 20 years? I guarantee you it's barely evolved. They're still doing the same stuff like the 90s bodybuilders were doing.
On Mondays.
And also, it's like, how much has our training evolved as trainers as the science gets better, as we have more evidence, certain things, certain protocols, certain methods. So you, quite frankly, it's a little arrogant to think that I know enough about this, that I don't need somebody who's an expert, somebody who's been reading, research, studying, working with people, has so much experience in the gym. You don't think that you can learn a few things for somebody like that? It's honestly...
It is arrogance, as you said, because I feel like everybody could learn something from everyone, especially a professional.
For sure. It's a lack of humility.
Yeah. Like, I know how to read, but if there's an English professor try to teach me something, I'm going to listen. I'm not so arrogant that I know everything about so-and-so. Like,
and that's one of the things about the fitness industry is that, like, in many other professions, you know, you wouldn't go to the professional and like, well, I guess some people do. And you're like, well, actually, I read on Google, doctor, that...
You want to go back to the dentist and tell her,
yeah,
lady, I don't need to floss. Come on, look at me. Like, no, I'm looking at you. Like,
most of the time you respect that person has a lot more expertise than you, and you kind of shut up and listen and like, okay, yeah, that makes some sense. And you trust their professional opinion. But in fitness, everybody's an expert.
Everybody knows what they're doing. Yeah.
And I'll give you a perfect example, just quick tangent. I was having lunch with my dietitian wife and a few other people, and one of the girls was like raving about keto. Mind you, she knows that she's a dietitian, that I'm a trainer for 15 years, whatever. Oh, keto's this, keto's the best, like, because here it is, like, very matter-of-factly, because carbohydrates are the problem, and this and that, and this is the ultimate, like, it was basically like the gospel. This is how you lose weight, and there's no other way. And of course, my wife and I just look at each other, just like,
don't even bother.
It's not worth it. This person's gonna think what they're gonna think. If they don't even have the humility to be like, well, what do you think?
What do you guys think?
You work
Professionals?
with thousands of people. What do you think? Am I on point here or what? So when I see somebody that's stuck in their way, I'm just like, I'm not gonna be the one to try to educate you or anything like that. I'm kind of wasting my time, so just ramble on and guess what? A few weeks later or months later, of course, they're not doing keto anymore.
That's why I never even tell people I'm a trainer. I just don't even want anything. I don't want...
You don't want to deal with all that.
I don't want to deal with that. Just, if you want to ask me for my opinion, awesome, but
it's a different story.
I'm not going to jump in and tell you that I know better, because I know better to do that.
The other thing I would tell that 35-year-old case study is that the best athletes in the world, the most elite athletes in the world, all have coaches. You mean to tell me that the Kobe Bryants, the Steph Currys, those kind of people see the value in having that and having like an experienced set of eyes evaluate you, give you feedback in real time? But you, Mr. Accountant,
Mr. Olympia,
from Hialeah, you don't need that because you got it all figured out. So it's like, and it's not just in fitness, in any aspect of life, in business too. Like, people see the value in having a more experienced or just a fresh set of eyes evaluate you, and because you can't look, there's no way that you can look at yourself with like all the perspectives. You only have your perspective, right? So you got that fresh set of eyes looking at you, evaluating you, giving you some feedback in real time, giving you a strategy.
Yep.
In the case of an elite athlete, it's like trying to squeeze every last bit of performance out of you in every which way. So I always argue, if those guys have a coach, why do you think that you don't need a coach?
Not to mention their coaches are always, like you said earlier, adapting to new science, looking at research. How can I help this person? Like, squeeze the last bit of athletic juice out of them. Like, it's not all the same thing. They're not doing the same thing they were doing in the 80s and 90s. It's always changing. So
at all.
So let those guys do that part for you. Like, you're not going to do it yourself. You're not going to go and read up research papers.
There's no way. So you have too much to focus on. And if you're not an elite athlete, even worse, because you have family and work and all these responsibilities. And you mean to tell me you go home and you read research papers and you read books about fitness. And like, it's just not going to happen. So just delegate that strategy to somebody who knows what they're doing, and then all you have to focus on is putting in the effort, which is already hard enough.
Yeah,
so get in the gym and put in the effort.
And that's every successful person always tells you to delegate things that you don't have time for. So like, why would you think this is one of the things that, oh no, I know everything? Like, no, like, be smart, and let somebody else be smart for you. You know, like
For sure.
Don't
And
think you know it all.
Like you said, we've had plenty of these people that come in and maybe for 20 years they've thought they didn't need a trainer. Then they finally humble themselves and they ask for help. And then they say, wow, I wish I would have done this when I was 21 because I would have been training better and I would have gotten better results
Yep.
and not gotten maybe so injured instead of trying to like just stubbornly, bump my head against the wall. And you know what? I'm guilty of it myself, not in fitness, but like in other aspects like business. It's like bump your head against the wall, instead of just like, seeking out a mentor, or
asking
doing
for help.
courses or doing workshops. I always thought like, I'm not gonna spend my money on that, but it's like you might learn something there that's gonna change your whole trajectory. Or instead of having to wait 5 years to see the results, you can do it in 6 months.
Yeah, which is crazy. We have some, and I think the best way to test that is that we have clients in their 40s and 50s are in the best shape of their lives.
For sure, even though they've been training their whole lives.
Yeah, because they decided to, like, hey, let me see what I can do with a professional, and voila, like the proof is in the pudding. It works. Like it does work.
And the irony is that same person that is too stubborn or says they don't need a trainer is the person that you see at LA Fitness week after week lifting the same weights, doing the same exercises, only the ones that they like, and basically making minimal progress. So how can you say that you know what you're doing and you don't need help when you are basically stuck and plateaued?
It's like blindly investing your money in stocks that you know nothing about when you could have somebody that is active in the stock world.
And that's all they do.
That's all they do. Yeah, like, hey, dude, invest my money. Like, it just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. I guess, like you said earlier, people in the exercise game think they know everything, but in other professions, they're more respectful of knowledge. So I just think it's a stigma that has been changing, though. I feel like it's changing. Everybody knows that. Even like people say it all the time, even coaches need a coach.
100%.
It helps you not only understand exercise better, but it helps you be a better coach in general. It helps you see.
Puts you in the client's perspective.
Exactly. So if you guys have been struggling with exercise or you've been working out but you haven't seen the progress you want, go get a trainer. Even if it's temporary, they might teach you something that is going to change your viewpoint on training, or they might teach you some stuff. And I think that information is invaluable.
Agreed.
So with that being said,
until next time.
Cheers. More
Salud.
vodka for us.
What is it? Nostrovia? What's the Russian?
Nostrovia.
Nostrovia?
Yeah. I'm out of.
Any Russians out there that want to rectify us?
Rectify my rectum.